Hello everyone, welcome back to our Accounting 210. In this video, we continue with chapter 7. Last video we talked about the break-even point, right? We said there were three ways to get your break-even point: in unit or in dollar amount. So you can use the traditional contribution margin income statement and set the unit as X, or you can use the fixed cost divided by contribution margin for each unit to get the unit, or you can use your fixed cost divided by contribution margin to get the dollar amount for your revenue. We said if the question said instead of getting the break-even point, a company wants to get some blah 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 operating income, then how to do that? If that's the question, we have to put the desired targeted operating income to the numerator, because in that situation, the contribution margin is not just used to contribute for covering the fixed cost, but it also contributes to increase your operating income. So your numerator now has fixed cost plus your operating income, and then your denominator is either contribution margin per unit or contribution margin percentage. Okay, so we did all the practice there. I put this in the my note also. Let's look at the next learning objective. Can you believe we have been talking the video for many videos? We are just on learning objective 3. Oh my goodness, maybe I'm too slow. Sorry. I should focus on teaching. I think I talk too much. Next learning objective: sensitivity analysis. There are two questions. There are two basic questions to ask you. First one is, what will happen? What will happen if this happens, this. So sensitivity analysis basically is the situation is not fixed. You may change your selling price, you may change your fixed cost, you may change your variable cost. So what will happen if we do this? So what will happen if we change our selling price, if we do this, and then what will be the change of our operating income? So how you will be tested? Two ways. First is I may ask you just conceptually. Second is you may have to calculate the change or the new operating income if you have all these situation or scenario. So let's look at the first type and then give me the answer. So what will happen, right? What will happen to our units? Okay, assume all other things are the same. Do you need more or less units or volume to reach the break-even point? So we said, if your selling price increases, do you need to sell more or less units to reach the break-even point? If this happens, do you need to sell more or less units to reach the break-even point? When we hold all the others constant, how do we solve this type of problems? Okay, let's see whether my pen works, yes or no. Let's see. Okay, so how do we get our break-even point? We said break-even point equals to fixed cost divided by contribution margin or contribution margin percentage, right? And then how do we get our contribution margin? Our contribution margin is our selling price minus the variable cost. Okay, now let's look at each scenario. If selling price increases, the first question is, does this affect your contribution margin? So if your selling price increases, how will this affect our contribution margin? So if selling price increase, our contribution margin will, this increase, variable cost is the same, your contribution margin will increase, right? And then my break-even point. So if your denominator increases, contribution margin increase, break-even point will decrease, right? Break-even will decrease. So you just need to sell less units. If your selling price increases. Does this make sense? Does this make sense? Okay, we want to first give you a reminder. If numerator goes up, break-even point goes up. If your denominator goes up, then break-even point goes down. Okay. Second question. Okay. Second scenario is variable cost increases. Okay. So if variable cost increases, okay, so if variable cost increase, how will this affect the contribution margin? If variable cost increase, our contribution margin will decrease. So if contribution margin decrease, our break-even point, you need more or less units. You need more units because denominator decrease, you need more units. You need more units. Third situation, you kind of got the idea. I hope most of you got the idea now. If fixed cost increase, will fixed cost increase affect our contribution margin? No. So our contribution margin will be constant. So your denominator will be the same, but your numerator goes up. So if your numerator goes up, your break-even point will go up. So you need to sell more units. This is one typical way I ask you in the multiple choice. I'm not sure whether you have this in the practice, yes or no, but if I ask you, I hope all of you can get the right answer. For the second method, second type, I ask you, like, you do all the numbers. I show you the example by working the problem later, okay? So this is the third learning objective. What will happen if we do this? So no matter what it happens, you just need to analyze all these equations. If numerator changes, how will this denominator changes affect the units? Good job, good. Okay, next one. I'm kind of trying to go to the next one because this is definitely you will have a question in the learning objective 4. You definitely will have a question in learning objective 4. What will this topic cover? It covers about sales mix. What's the meaning? Okay, most likely when you are the manager, right, you kind of buy this, you get that, kind of like a bundle. I personally think it's kind of like a bundle. It's kind of like a basket or kind of like a bundle. So let's just use our accounting. You buy 3 textbooks, you get 2 my accounting lab, right? You buy 3 t-shirts, you get 2 pairs of socks, right, or ties. Kind of those things. You have different things, they combined together. So in that situation, how do we get the break-even point? So we are still focusing on break-even point, but we are focusing on bundle product. Let's say you buy 3 accounting 210 textbook, you got 2 my accounting lab software. So in that situation, what will be the break-even point for the book? What will be the break-even point for the software? So that's our target. The logic is still the same. You need to still get the fixed cost, right? So we said break-even point equals to fixed cost divided by your contribution margin for each unit. So now we still use the fixed cost, but now you have more than 1 product. So how do we get the bundle contribution margin? Let's look at this example and we do one practice together. You definitely will have a question. Okay? We can wait to do the practice when I open my accounting lab question with you. But just look at this example together, get some idea, and then we do some numbers together later. So for this company, they sell 2 products. I believe they sell 2 products. If you want to get more details of the example, go back to your textbook. You have a regular poster, and then you also have the larger poster. So now you sell both of them. They are kind of like sitting in the basket, kind of like a bundle. This is selling price. This is the variable cost. This is contribution margin. Okay, now I stop here, right? For the regular selling price 35, variable cost 21. So you have contribution margin is 14. For the larger one, selling price 70, variable cost 40, and contribution margin 30. Okay, now we stop here. And what's the bundle? For every 5 regular poster, you will have 3 large one. For every 5 for every 5 regular, you have 3 large one. So if we put all this in the basket or in the bundle, we will have 8, right? So out of that, 5 will be the regular, 3 will be the large, 3 will be the large. Remember, each one, the regular is a $14 contribution margin. 5 will be 70, okay? Large, each one is $30. Large, each one is $30. You have 3, so your total large will be 90. And then our total contribution margin in the basket will be 160. Will be 160. But how many units? It's 8 units. 5 regular, 3 large. 5 regular gives you contribution margin 70. 3 large gives you contribution margin 90. So our, how to say, you read this for me. Hey, come on. Hey, all of my students, wake up if you are sleeping, right? If you are sleeping, wake up. This is important. Weighted average contribution margin. So we have to calculate weighted average contribution margin. This is the key. Your total contribution margin is $160, but you got this $160 from 8 units. So your weighted contribution margin will be $20. Your weighted contribution margin is $20. Now the question said, other things is just straightforward. I don't worry about my students, you know, your sales of the basket, your fixed cost still is 7,000. Now our weighted average contribution margin will be 20. So you kind of have to sell the weighted average of 350 poster, 350 basket, right? Kind of like that. But for our regular, it only equals to 5/8. You said, oh, what's that? Remember, out of these 8 units, your regular counted as 5. So your regular, after getting the 350, you have to time your regular portion. Your regular portion is just 5/8. So your regular's break-even point has to be these units. Your large, your basket is 350, but the large one counted as 3/8. Hey, look carefully, right? Look carefully. 3/8. So your large break-even, your large poster break-even point is 131.25. You said, not really sure how to do it. So first step, okay, so first step is you get the weighted average contribution margin. Most students, they can get that one. Second step is you kind of get the basket contribution margin, you kind of get the basket break-even point. Most students, they get this one. But some students, they will forget to time the portion, for each specific product. For regular, it's 5/8. It's 5/8. For large, it's 3/8. For large, it's 3/8. So you have to get the portion for, then you get each product the break-even point. Okay, so this, I stop here. You kind of get some idea, right? So we said that this is just for units. So how do we get the dollar amount? How do we get the contribution margin ratio? How do we get the contribution margin ratio? How do we get contribution margin ratio? Very similar idea. You get your total basket is 160 for contribution margin, right? You get total contribution margin is 160. And then we need to get your total sales revenue. You need to get your total sales revenue. Selling price 35, you have 5 units, it gives you 175. Selling price 70, 3 units gives you 210. So your total contribution margin is 385. Then you get your weighted average contribution margin ratio. You get your weighted contribution margin ratio 41.56%, and you do the same thing, then you can get kind of like the basket dollar amount. You get the basket dollar amount. You get the basket dollar amount. Once you get the basket dollar amount, you use this number to time 5/8. You get the regular selling revenue. You time 3/8. You get the large poster sales revenue, so that you will get the break even, where you get the break even. Okay, so I stop here. I kind of force you to give you some idea of bundle products, of multiple products, or we call it as the sales mix. As I say, logic is the same, but you have to do 2 extra steps. First extra step is you have to get weighted average contribution margin. Second extra step is you have to time the percentage for each product in the sales mix. Okay, you definitely will have questions, and I definitely will practice some problems with you. So if you have any concern, hang on there, don't cry, don't give up. We will practice together. You definitely will feel much better after we do some practice. Thank you. I see you next time. We are almost done. Trust me, we are almost done. Thank you.